Good afternoon, friends. We are meeting with episode 3 of Baarish Sanvaad. We have to continue to demand that every child has the right to education, not only because it is enshrined in Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I feel it is a sense of vulnerability about the present and uncertainty about the future, and the importance of increasing the relevance of education. There is a need for urgent action to change humanity's course and save the planet from further disruptions. So, for that, education plays a vital role in addressing these daunting challenges. With the International Day of Education, there is a lot of emphasis on strengthening education as a public endeavor and common good. Education has a role to play in safeguarding the planet and unlocking the potential in every person to contribute to collective well-being and our shared home, the planet Earth. So, to discuss the important role of education for the planet Earth, we have with us today Dr. Jose Rafael from India.
All right. Okay. I'm so glad to be a member of SARNET and to talk about World Education Day and the messages. You might have seen that many countries, they focus upon economic policies, but not necessarily on social policy. In this social policy dimension, the education, health, and the human resources, social welfare measures, all these subjects come in. So many of the developing countries, they try to have their basic minimum needs, their food, agriculture, and employment, industry employment kind of thing. And second priority only come to the education and health sector. So that makes a lot of difference in developing countries. Whereas the developed countries, they are not that having problem with their food or basic minimum needs. And therefore, they are in a position to focus more on social aspects like health, education, and the social welfare measures. So what I see that the developing countries or all countries in the world need to focus upon their investment in the human development when we talk in parlance of the SARNET, we know that the importance of water in the whole scenario. So water is an important element for all of us, and that forms in the education in the total scenario. So let's focus in that direction, water education. To us, education in general definitely important. At the same time, water education is very important for in our discussions. So what is water education? How it will help the human being? The water education has got its own many dimensions like levels. For example, when we talk of the water education for an individual or water education for a home or a family, and it varies to the agriculture, to the industry, and the related sectors, and all these are slightly different. So the water education starts from we need to know about the whole thing, and we have to practice that whatever we get from water education. So as an individual in our home, what we need to do to conserve of the and to make use the water available around us. So there are plenty of things to be discussed about. So we normally say about it in the local parlance, water literacy. Water literacy, or we say hydrogeological literacy. So a very preliminary component of this water literacy is how the water is formed in the earth. All you know that the water cycle. Come to the quality of the water and the quantity of water, how much is around us within this planet Earth. We all know, we have seen the planet that about 30% of the total planet Earth covers with land portion, and the remaining 70, approximately 70% covered by the water. But it doesn't mean that we have enough water for our well-being. The 97% of the total water is 97.7% is it's a salt water in the sea. So the remaining small fraction of water is only the fresh water the people may able to tap it. So the quantity and the quality aspect of water is very important for all people, human being, and even for the animal and for agriculture kind of thing. So then thirdly, when we talk about the water, especially with the agriculture sector, the rural sector, how many water conservation practices are mixed with the agriculture practices. So this water conservation and agriculture, they go in hand. So the earlier in the ancestors know how to harvest the rain, how to manage the water in the field level at the optimum level. So that form of preliminary information about this, the water use in the agriculture sector, our ancestors and the farmers know. But when we grow urban, more urbanized areas, the people tend to do not know about all these basic kind of thing. And then again, when we spoil water resources or natural resources, that will affect the water resource. For example, when we cut forests, when we excavate or mine the sand from the river or such kind of things. So all these, or we spoil the water resource like with pollution, all these affect our freshwater resources because there is an undercurrent between all these, the forest or the sand in the river or in the with the normal water course of body that is being polluted, all are connected with the freshwater sources. So all these are, this is another aspects of this water education. Then comes the judicious use of water. When the water we get through the pipe system or the public water supply systems, or how they manage, how they use this water. So many people in the urban scenario, they tend to waste the available precious water. So the judicious use of water within a home or within a person, within use of a person or in the industry or in the institutions. So all these things we need to made aware this education, water education component. Then comes about the laws, the rules of the different rules related to the water in different countries. The people should know how to manage and how to follow the rules. So then comes the water recycling, water reuse, how it can be done. For example, the used water from a home, how it can be used in the kitchen water, how it can be reused in the garden, or how the wash water is that can be reused. So that's another part. So again, then comes probably then only we may come into the picture of the rainwater harvesting as per se. Harvesting roof rainwater that can be used for our domestic uses as well as for the drinking water kind of thing. And the water conservation, water education is very important in this day of water education day.
Thank you, Dr. Jose, for giving an outline on water literacy, the importance of water education. Given the importance of water education, is it being applied in the educational curricula? Is it fair to say that in most countries is not yet fulfilling its promise to help shape peaceful, just, and sustainable futures?
You are absolutely right. It's quite important that the school curricula might have included the subject of water education or the rainwater harvesting kind of subject or the climate change or connection. I cite an example in my homeland where we focus on harvesting roof rainwater that goes to their open wells. We have in Kerala, the Indian state of Kerala has got, we have a lot of wells. Each home has got a well, or even a school has got a well. So we promote this rainwater harvesting, and we install the roof structures. So what we see that after the installation, after some time, after 1 year, when we go to see that how far it has been maintained, I see that many of them are not maintained well. And that's one part. At the same time, the school teachers and students, they make their own presentations in the science exhibitions that our rainwater harvesting is wonderful. But when it is being implemented at their school itself, it's not very much maintained. And that's one aspect. At the same time, all these schools have got a lot of areas, space is available, the plain area or the ground space available. At the same time, the roof area is available. So much of water is washed out from their school campuses. So all these things said very fashionably, but very less number of places they harvest or the practice them. That is the pitiable or the scene of the whole scenario. So that way, the practicing, I don't know how, I'm not sure about how far it's being. In Africa, I see that there are less, some successful cases, some piloting cases are the or in Asian countries, but whereas not that large scale success cases is being noticed across the world.
As you very well said, there is the lack of contribution to water education in educational curricula. There is less the importance of water conservation, judicious use of water is not being applied in its proper sense. Given that, as a development practitioner with long years of experience, how do you think should the educational curricula be made relevant to creating a healthy planet that benefits all beings, which is sensitive to what is highlighted in water literacy or water education?
My observation is that the state or the nation should have interest in the whole subject, or the will of the people's representatives of the nation should take note of this very important subject, because without water, it's very difficult. All of us know that all civilizations start, or they are around the riverine population, or around the rivers, or wherever they get the water. So even in in the slums, even from near the railway stations, because they get the water from the railway station in the olden time. So wherever there is water, that there it flourishes. So the nation should show interest and invest in the education scenario, and in which water education. So there are many facets of this water education. And there are institutions that give PhDs on this subject. There are institutions that give master degrees of 2 years on water. And there are engineering courses on the hydrologic engineering course. There are courses that make practitioners or academicians that will be able to help the water scenario. But more important, my focus is on how it is can be practiced. So curricula has to be formulated in such a manner that they have to be practiced at the grassroots level, not necessarily the academic papers, printing papers or making papers of the research papers. That's not enough. What I see that in in the name of water education, we have come across with the many institutions in the education sector. They make merely papers, research papers, one after the other. Plenty of papers are available. After 50 years, the future generations will ask us what you were doing. You were printing papers and on water education, but it doesn't make any sense. What's more important is a replicable or workable curricula that can be practiced by the student community or the people at their level, either at the home or individual or wherever they are, wherever in whichever institutions they are, whichever company they belong, or if at all they become farmers, how this water can be made use, preciously, judiciously used. So in the rural scenario, if a farmer, how water can be used properly, wasting the in avoiding the wastage of water. So that water security subjects, all these things should be the focus, the syllabus or the curricula should be made in such a manner that it can be made use, so, a practical solutions that can be implemented or made use at their level. So the people should become water aware, especially in the period of climate change. We see a lot of change in the climate in these days. So the people should be made aware as a part of education that we need to take care. Many things can happen, and so all the water sources has to be kept preciously and to be made use for the future. I think the case of Singapore, it seems, they don't make use the groundwater sources because they are kept ready for disaster if at all any huge disaster happens. So they are kept intact. They don't use. So they use other methods. So they know the value of the water. So in such a manner that all nations should understand the use of the precious availability of water in quality as well as in quantity, and how it can be properly used and made it sustainable for the future generations. In such a manner, the education, the curricula has to be formulated.
As you said, it is not enough to document the best practices. We need to share experiences, all right, as we do now. But what more required from us is to introduce workable solutions, replicable models into the education system where we practice judicious usage of water at country level. So at country level, the necessary measures have to be in place in the educational curricula. So thank you very much, Dr. Jose, for joining the third episode of Baarish Sanvaad.
Thank you, Sarnet, giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Thank you, Danish.